here. And we're going to see if this works. Doesn't look like we're quite on air yet, but hopefully soon we will be. 9E, yep. Just going to refresh this page just to see. Yeah, it looks like, hey, we're coming online here. Cool. Hey, there we are. Yeah, we got delays between when I can tell that it's online and what I can see here. So I'm just kind of getting this set up back in order here. It's 2022, and it's been ages. It's been ages, you guys, since I've done one of these. And, for good reason. We've all been busy and, dealing with everything that we're all dealing with. And so, yeah, that's, it's understandable. But I am going to hopefully start streaming a little bit more regularly. I do have a few fun audio production projects coming up. The biggest one is this trip to Abbey Road that I have planned for March 20th through 29th. I'm going to be in London. We're going to be at Abbey Road March 23rd and 24th of this year. So that's in it's already March. It's March 6th. So that's in 14 days. That's in 2 weeks. Okay, just realized how soon that's coming up and panicked a little bit, and that's okay. But basically, I thought it would be fun to kind of document, our whole journey over there to Abbey Road, and also just a little bit of preparation in my trip over there. So I'm going to go over there with my friend Jesse, who I went over with almost 2 years exactly, to the day. Today we were over there 2 years ago, 2020. Believe it or not, insane to sort of realize that, but it's true. And so we're going over again. We're going to record some new music again with my friend Jesse, and my friend Graham is coming this time to play drums. We're in Studio 2 this time instead of Studio 3. Being anywhere at Abbey Road, even just being outside the front door, is pretty amazing. Studio 3 was amazing. Studio 2 is really the iconic room that Abbey Road is known for. It's just the kind of the big white box room that 95% of the Beatles albums was recorded in that room, and countless others over the years. It's just an iconic space with this kind of the staircase going down, the control room's up level. And so we'll be tracking over there in a couple weeks. It's just crazy. It's crazy to think. Doesn't quite seem real yet. So I'm trying to make it real by getting all ready for it. So really, we're in good shape. Jesse has written, a bunch of new songs, and my homework from now until then is to, number one, learn the songs really well so that I can actually play them. I'll be playing bass and keys over there, so piano, organ, Wurlitzer, Rhodes, any mallet kind of instruments, Celeste. We're talking about doing Mellotron over there, just kind of whatever they have to offer. So my friend Graham is taking I played drums the last time. My friend Graham's going to play drums this time. And so I'm kind of doing the other stuff that's not drums. And then Jesse's going to also play. So we're going to track in a 3-piece when we get over there, drums, bass, and Jesse will be on guitar and vocals. So now, like I said, my homework is to get these sessions that Jesse has made kind of cleaned up and all prepped for that kind of a session over there. And what that involves is basically Jesse was kind of doing these sessions as he wrote the songs, So we put a bunch of stuff on there. I think my job will be mostly actually to take out the stuff that we don't need, especially like scratch drums and scratch bass. And when I say scratch, I mean just the bass that was just programmed in, you know, or whatever, and the drums that were just placeholder drums when he's kind of working on the demo. And just get it to a place where, yeah, there's a click, there's some basic tracks, there's a vocal, there's something inspiring to track to in the studio. Because when you don't have, we just have a 3-piece band, so we don't have like, you know, 8 or 10 people all playing parts individually. And so we want something there that's inspiring to track to in the studio. That's kind of the idea. So really, I want maybe some percussion, some kind of basic keys, whether whether we end up keeping them or not, vocals, and maybe some background vocals. But really, that's it. We're looking at tempo, song structure, and that's basically it. So I just want to get the sessions to a place where they feel good, and we're like ready to go. Also, like I said, just familiarizing myself with the songs as I get ready to go over there. So that's kind of the idea. Let me show you what I got set up here in Pro Tools. So this is just an example of one session. This is just one of the songs. This is the one I've actually worked on because I did a new piano track here. I did this track. I think you can hear that. You should be able to hear that. Let me know if you can't hear that. You should be able to though. So that's my piano.
Ooh, there's a flying machine.
You hear the click in there.
It's not real.
So
It's just a matter.
here's the turnaround after chorus 1 here.
It's just a matter of time. I know the waiting is the hardest part. You think.
So, you know, you can hear some scratch bass in there as well. That might be more than we need. But really, I want to go through this and get rid of everything that we don't need. And I don't only want to, you know, mute stuff. I want to actually take it out of the session. It doesn't mean that it's going to be lost forever. It just means I'm going to save a version of this for Abbey Road that is literally only the things we need at the levels that we need them and nothing else. So when we get to Abbey Road, their engineers take over. I'm not doing any kind of engineering or anything like that. What's up, Ryan? And I'm just giving it. I want to present them with something that just makes sense to them. So in addition, you know, like things like which you can't see right now because my picture is my thumbnail guy is in the way, but things like this reverb, delay, and chorus, like they probably don't have this reverb because it's a soft tube ZAR one. Maybe they have it, but you can't really depend on other studios having the same plugins that you have. So, you know, you could either take that off or you could put plate. You know, you could just say vocal plate, so that when the reverb comes up as, you know, unfound plugin, they can just put their whatever, you know, vocal plate that they have there, some Abbey Road, you know, vocal plate, you know, or something. So they'll probably have the waves. The other two plugins, my delay and my chorus. This is just like my standard setup that I do on sessions. I'm going to take my picture away there so you can see. I have this reverb, delay, and chorus right here. That's just my standard like effects package. Verb, delay, and chorus. For really, it's mostly for the vocal or the vocals, and that's just kind of my default that I do, especially for demo stuff. So that's going to be in every session. I think I'll probably, I'm not going to go through the trouble of like replacing this this reverb here. I'll just let them grab whatever makes sense to them. and go with that rather than guessing like, oh, what reverb are they going to have, and that'll be fine. Jesse is actually coming over to re-record all of these lead vocals. He's coming over on, I think, Tuesday of next week, so in a couple days. Maybe Monday? Is it tomorrow? Could be tomorrow. Don't remember. Got to check my calendar. But that would be something interesting to stream as well. Maybe I can set up a second camera or something to kind of shoot over here. This is my microphone area over here, if he's comfortable with that. Or maybe I can just shoot the aftermath of that, you know, as we're getting stuff together. So on this session, for example, this is he's got scratch drums. Well, first I'm going to do a save. Actually, I already did a save as right here. A Matter of Time, Abbey Road, right? So I saved this as Abbey Road. So I already have another version of this that let's see, where is it? A Matter of Time, Abbey Road. So I've already got another version of A Matter of Time right here. So it's not going to kill anything if I delete these. So I'm just going to fully delete stuff that I don't want and don't need. These scratch drums, literally delete. I got this simple bass. I will need to print this to audio. Right now I just have this as an Omnisphere track. As a matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to delete it. Is that what I'm going to do? Yep, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete this. Because, why? Because I'm tracking bass. We don't need bass on this song. Scratch acoustic, I'm going to keep that. Scratch high strung, I'm going to keep that. The original scratch piano, we're going to delete that. Get that out of the session. This piano overdub, I do need that. The vibes, I'll keep. Intro synth, what is this exactly? Let's listen. Oh, it's that little, I like that, actually. It's a little attitude. Let's hear what this is. Do. Sure? I don't know. What? Nope, don't think we need that. Delete. And I've already got these all muted. There's a filtered kick. There's like a sound effects thing. There's like this. We're just going to delete all these things because they're superfluous and we don't need them right now. So now all we got is the tambourine, the shaker, which I like. This scratch, actually, this is original scratch bass. Let's delete that as well. Delete. So that's gone too. So now it's just tambourine, shaker. I'm going to put the shaker above the tambourine. Acoustic, acoustic 2. Piano. This is the piano that I tracked. Little piano overdub thing. Vibes. This, see, the other thing is too. Here's another thing I don't like. I'm very kind of type A with labeling things correctly. Like right now, this is bothering me that this is called Audio 1. I almost want to like render this and call it something else so it's not confusing. Ryan says, I'd love to see your guys' voice tracking process, hear about what mics, preamps you use and why you use them. Well, I can make it real simple for you. I only have one type of preamp in here, and I have 8 of them, and it's the Vintech X73. It's a 1073 style, and it's a very accurate modern recreation of a Neve 1073. This is the the X73i, which the only difference between the X73i and the X73 is a couple EQ points are different, and the knobs themselves are different. So I don't know if you can see behind me, kind of in that rack, you can sort of see. Maybe if we zoom in and like pan over. This isn't exactly like set up for this. Okay, not really. Okay, you can see them over there. And let's make it a little brighter. So there they are. Over here in the rack. Yeah, I mean it's like a oops, what did I do? I'm ruining everything now. We gotta go back here. It's a 1073. It's like a Neve 1073, and that is what I like on almost everything. The The only thing that it can get a little murky on is some voices that have like a lot of low end, because it does, the transformers in a 1073 style preamp really add like a big weight. But the EQ is so good too that you can roll that off if you need to. So it adds that by default, but then you can also roll it off, and the EQ is so beautiful and lovely that it just they're very versatile to me. They sound really actually hi-fi to me. They don't. A lot of people think the Neve thing is like gritty and like you associate Neve with like low end, and that's true. But it also has amazing, beautiful high end, and the EQ is so good that you can brighten up things a lot if you need to, and it's just so musical the way it works. And so I just go through the 1073 or the X73, and then I have a hardware 1176 right here out of frame that you can't see. So a Universal Audio, just a modern 1176 limiter that I have always on. Attack, 12 o'clock, release all the way to the right, which is all the way fast. And I'm monitoring gain reduction over there so I can see, when the needle's jumping. And then I just adjust the input to where I see the gain reduction kicking in when they start singing louder. So it shouldn't, the higher, so really all this thing has is input, output, attack, and release. And ratio. I have the ratio at 4:1. So ratio 4:1, attack 12 o'clock, release all the way fast, and then and then input and output. Output is just your level to Pro Tools. So that's your overall level. So when I'm adjusting the output, I'm looking at my meters in Pro Tools and looking, just making sure I'm not peaking. And then the input is really the kicker. I keep the attack and the release the same and the ratio the same. The input is really where you're kind of adjusting per singer. And so I shouldn't see the needle. Again, I'm monitoring gain reduction. So the needle by default is like right here, and then it's going to go this way, like this. Wait, it's on my arm is backwards. It goes like this. Anyway, so I'm monitoring gain reduction. And I don't want to see any gain reduction when they're singing quietly. So if he's kind of whisper singing or just like singing pretty quietly, I don't want to see that needle moving. Maybe just when he starts kind of singing medium, like in this song in the verse.
Deep down inside of you, there's a flying machine. It's not ready for the sky, but soon it's gonna be.
So there at the end of like. It's not ready. I would expect to see the needle moving a little bit, probably, to -6, maybe -8. It's not ready for the sky, but soon it's gonna be. So soon it's gonna be, I should see it, moving down. Basically, you want to see it just leveling those things, because the output is taking care of the overall volume to tape, right? And the input is just regulating that dynamic range on the way in, and it does it so beautifully, and there's nothing like an 1176, especially on a voice. I absolutely love it. Cannot live without it. I need it, and I have been told on many occasions when vocalists are tracking in here, they're like, I actually like the sound of my own voice. And I think that's because it's just a very flattering kind of piece of gear. It brings out all of those nuances while also, kind of turning down things that maybe are harsh. It's not doing anything EQ-wise, obviously, but the Neve helps with that too. The Vintech just brings out all that low-end warmth and loveliness in your voice, and obviously the microphone has a lot to do with that too. So it's every step in the chain, but really the 1176 is the thing that I would say the microphone. Well, yeah, I mean everything in the chain, but the 1176 is kind of the special sauce, if you will, that not everybody has access to such a thing. But I really like having there's software versions of like the same thing. This is just to show you what I'm talking about. I have it actually on this vocal because he didn't track this vocal at my house. So this is what the hardware thing looks like. So when I talk about attack, I'm talking about attack right here, 12 o'clock, release all the way to the right, which means all the way fast. Actually, we could see it moving here because it's on his voice.
Deep down inside of you, there's a flying machine.
So you see how fast it gets back there. So deep down inside of you, there's a flying machine. It's really doing a lot, and it's because he didn't track this with any kind of limiter. And you can see just by looking at the waveform, like the deep
down inside of
that word down, when he sings down, deep down, it's like so much louder than the rest. But the limiter is really taking care of that. If you look at the limiter and you look at the waveform here.
Deep down inside of you, there's a flying machine.
And it brings it back. So it's bringing that tail, which is really quiet, it's bringing that tail back up. So it just does like what you want. How's it going, Ollie? And so this hardware version in particular, this Chris Lord Alge CLA 76 does a pretty darn good job. It is not as good as the hardware, of course, because it's never going to be as good as the hardware. And the thing with the hardware too, bear in mind, it's not just the, hey, does this one sound the same as this one sounds? It's when you're in the studio, the vocalist is hearing the sound of the hardware one. You can't put this on, in most situations anyway, you can't put a software plugin on without, creating some kind of latency. Some systems you can, maybe some some of the more modern systems with like the Apollo and stuff like that, you can like actually track through or track with the limiter on, and there's low enough latency where you can kind of make that work. But having the hardware obviously is the most preferred kind of way to do it. So, but in a pinch, and like I said, he didn't have one, so I just put this on there. I've just got I've got a little SSL EQ on him. I've got this 1176, and then I have auto tune. Got auto tune on him because we all need a little auto tune on us from time to time. And this is just the guide vocal. I also like calling it the guide vocal and not the scratch vocal. Scratch implies that you will not use it. Guide this was the first vocal take, and this is the guide vocal. But maybe we'll use some of it. And quite often I do end up using it, especially when people come over here to track, which Jesse's going to do Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday. So when he comes over, we're going to get like real vocals, but we're not going to do, 6, 7, 8 takes. We're just going to do like 2 or 3 max, do a quick little comp, and just have a nice, pristine, good vocal. Because I think some of these he was doing late at night at his house and not, trying not to wake up his kids and stuff. And so we want like a real vocal take through a real vocal chain, when we go into Abbey Road. Just so when you pull up the session, your voice sounds good in Abbey Road, So anyway, Ollie says most singers aren't used to hearing themselves with compression most of the time. It's very true. It's very true. And a lot of times I actually have to tell people not to back off. They're doing this thing with the microphone. They're deep down inside of you, there's a flying machine. Or vocalists who do that, like they take the mic away. 9 times out of 10, I tell the vocalist, don't do that. Just stay right up on the mic, and the limiter will take care of you. Trust me. And once they hear it, they're like, oh yeah, like it does. And the reason I don't want them to back off, of course, is because the frequency response of the microphone dramatically, you're not just losing volume when you go away from the mic or you turn your head or you lean back. The frequency response of the microphone drastically changes, primarily having to do with low end, right? So if I'm right up here on the microphone, whether I'm talking loudly or quietly, there's like a lot of low end. Like even if I get closer to this microphone, which I don't want to get too close so that it doesn't overload or anything like that. But as I'm closer here, you can hear I'm not talking loudly, but the frequency response of my voice is very likely changed. And as I get back here, if I'm talking at the same volume, obviously the volume has gone down, but also a lot of that bass response has gone down too. So another question from Ollie: what's your approach to normal capturing of vocals? How many takes? What's your process? So yeah, it depends on the person, but usually I will have them get up there and just sing through a little bit while I get a sound. So hey, we're gonna pull up the song, no problem, and I record. I always record. Record everything. Record your testing. Record your whatever, because you never know. And there's literally no downside to just hitting record. So I'll record it and I'll call that playlist test 1, test 2 or whatever. But then quite often, again, later on, I use that because they're not thinking too much and they're just kind of, they're warming up. So I'll have them do a verse and a chorus, kind of tweak their sound. Hey, your level's going to go up and down. Let me know what you need or whatever. Just kind of adjusting things. I'll adjust just basically like level. I'm adjusting the 1176, just like the level like I was talking about. I want to see the gain reduction going where I want it to go. And then I'm also doing EQ. So if I hear that they need, less mid-range, I'll turn like some mid-range down. I'm not afraid to do, generous amounts of EQ, cutting and boosting. And I know my system well enough to know just what sounds good. So I'm not afraid to I want to get it right now. I want to get it at the source. I usually don't boost too much high end. Really, the microphones that I use have plenty of highs in them. Usually I'm dealing with mid-range and like low mid-range. So I'm kind of going, if it's a male vocal that has like a lot of like lower mids that are kind of going to be problematic, I'll turn those down a little bit. So I'll grab, whatever it is, 700 hertz or 560 hertz. This Neve is stepped here, so you can hear it clicks on the frequency selection. So I only have one. Let's see, what do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different frequencies I can select in the mid-range, and then I can boost or cut those frequencies. So usually I end up cutting something. So I'm kind of finding that problem area. For example, on myself, it's like around 2K. So there's a 2.2 on here. So even before I get up there, I'll go to 2.2 and just kind of turn that down a little bit, a few clicks. And then the lows, I usually leave the lows alone unless it's a microphone with a ton of low end, or it's got, just like too much presence, or the person's voice has too much low end. But yeah, that mid range, I'm not afraid to, because if you think about it this way, it's almost like using another microphone. Like microphones vary drastically between their frequency response. So if you put a different microphone up, it's going to have way more or way less mid range, or way more high end, or way more low end. For example, I have two really nice mics. I have a Sound Deluxe U195, which is kind of like a FET U87 type of microphone. Just a nice large diaphragm condenser that sounds good on literally everything, and it sounds good on 99 out of 100 vocals. And then I also have a Bach 241, which is a tube mic, which doesn't sound good on everybody. It sounds good on most people, but it also has like a lot of low end, and I actually have to position people about 8 inches away from it. Whereas with the Sound Deluxe, I'm kind of like, windscreen microphone. They're right up on it because I like capturing that proximity effect and that low end. It just sounds nice. But with the Bach 241, that's an emulation of like a Telefunken ELAM 251, which is my favorite microphone of all time. Probably one of the most expensive microphones, next to like the U47. They're making them now again, and I think they go for about $10,000. So, and then a vintage one, just start adding zeros on that. But yeah, so I just have those two mics. Usually I kind of know before someone comes in what mic they're going to use. I try the Bach 241 first. The tube thing, it just has a little kind of magic to it. I don't know. It has something about it that's a little more, and I hesitate to use this word because it's sort of meaningless, but three-dimensional. It kind of, it has an extra quality to it. There's something about it. It's almost like, using a tube amp or a solid state amp. You can't quite put your finger on it. It's like, oh, does it have more low end or mid range or high end? I don't know. It just makes me happy to play it. And it's similar with this microphone, where it just kind of like there's just some magic to it. So voices are such complex instruments, and capturing them faithfully and flatteringly, and is there's so much to it that you really just want to use your ears and kind of go with what your ears are telling you. And I like listening to the artist too. I like asking them which mic they like, So anyway, after we get it all dialed in, okay, let's try one. Most of the time, I'll have people do full takes of songs. Not always. Sometimes the artist will come in. If it's a brand new artist, I'll explain that that's the way I do it. Hey, normally I like to do full takes of songs. What do you like to do? And if they're like, oh, no, I need to do a verse at a time or whatever, I'm like, great, let's do verse one. Let's just focus on verse one. Depending on the kind of song, if it's like they got to get in a different headspace to go to the chorus or the bridge or whatever, that's fine. It's really about, when you're doing vocals, it's about making the artist comfortable, giving them what they want: water, tea, Lay's chips. Sometimes people eat Lay's chips, or like things that kind of like, coat their throat to sort of, everyone's got their own like little regimen. Or if they don't have a regimen, you help them with that a little bit. Hey, let's just drink water. Let's not drink this or whatever. Or if a person's like, hey, I like to smoke cigarettes between takes, and that's just how I do it, I'm like, great, that's how you do it. Cool. I'll only step in with my own like little opinion and 2 cents if something's going wrong. If they're clearly uncomfortable, I'm like, hey, let's try this or try that, or hey, let's take a break or whatever. But usually I'll do full takes, so I'll just roll it from the top, because I like capturing the story of the song. And the best way to do that for me is just to have the person sing it all the way through. And if they're comfortable and they can hear themselves, most vocalists can make it through a whole song. I mean, if you can't make it through your own song, how are you going to do it live? For some people, maybe that's not a problem. But yeah, in general, that's kind of how I like to do it. That's how I personally will track vocals too. I like just going from the beginning. And I'll go, hey, yeah, like usually I won't give comments the first time through. I'll ask them how they feel. They go through one time. Hey, how'd that feel? Could you hear yourself okay? Yeah, just warming up here, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Let's try another one. Here we go. One more. Track them through. And then maybe on the second take, I'll take a few notes and go, it sounds like you're struggling with X, Y, and Z here. Let's try that bridge section, or why don't you try this when you go to that one? But don't think too much about it. Let's do another full take. And depending on the vocalist, I do anywhere from 3 to like 9, 10, 11 takes. Usually I won't do that many, usually 6 or 7 like full takes of the song. And then by then we got most of it with most vocalists, and we're like, we both know, I don't have to, it's not news to them what the problem areas are. Their voice is clearly under the microscope at that moment. And if you're a vocalist yourself, you know that like, it's not guesswork. You're in it together. But I like to communicate that throughout the process. Tell them what they're doing right. Tell them where they sound really great. That's just as important as telling them, hey, here's the areas you need to improve. Dude, oh my God, when you hit that high note and you like that run that you did at the end of that thing, and whatever, just like cheering them on. That's your job as producer, is to cheer them on. So that's what I do. And then 6, 7 takes, full takes, and then I'll go, hey, let's take three more of that bridge section. Just because I like to have at least like 5 like to choose from at the end of the day. I like to have a lot to choose from when I'm doing my vocal comp. So when I'm doing my comp, I'm going through kind of phrase by phrase, and for example, like on a song like this, I would take like just this much right here,
Deep down inside of you, there's a flying machine.
And then I would go to the next take, and then I would go to the next take, and then I would listen to that. It's like maddening for some people to listen to. That's like, on the top 10 list of things not to do on a live stream, it would be comping vocals, because it's like, it's just the worst to listen to, because you just listen to deep down inside of you, there's a flying machine. Deep down inside of you, there's a flying machine. Deep down inside of you, there's a flying machine. Deep down inside of you. And it's like, it's insane for someone to listen to. So sometimes artists are interested in it if you can kind of turn your brain, or turn your heart off, turn your emotions off, and just listen with like a critical, scientific kind of type of mind. But it's actually very taxing on, like, I can't do that many of those. Like if I have a day where I'm doing vocals and I'm comping all, while we're doing, I'm exhausted by the end of the day, because I'm listening so critically and going, nope, that one's better than that one, and making decisions too. Making all those decisions makes your brain tired, man. So you got to take breaks or whatever. So, Ollie says, I like to do section by section so I can get the gain right and I don't have huge jumps in volume. That's why you need a limiter, man. You need a limiter. You're not going to have huge jumps in volume. You're going to have little bitty jumps in volume. If you get a hardware limiter, that literally problem solved. Problem solved. I tend to do like 4 section takes and then like you said, 1 full take to start. Yeah, everybody's different. There's no right way to do it. This is how I do it. There are some things where I say that, whereas, hey, there's no right way to do it. But, when you go in the studio and you see like a drum setup, a lot of people do the same thing. But with vocals, it really is all over the map. It's like some people do, just phrase by phrase. Some people do just a verse. Some people are literally like writing the song and they're like, hey, let's record that verse that we just wrote. Go in there, whoever it is. And then, they come back and whatever. But almost always it's a collaboration between the producer and the person singing the song and or the songwriter. Sometimes that's the same person, sometimes not. In this case, Jesse's the songwriter. I like working with Jesse because he likes, I think, sometimes you get into the power dynamic of like who's making the decisions here. And Jesse is one to just hand off the reins to me. And he's like, Aaron, you decide. And I like that because I like making decisions, but I also like the kind of the lack of a power struggle there. It's not necessarily a power struggle. It's like an opinion struggle. And I think, as a songwriter, I relate to that. If I was working with a producer or when I'm tracking vocals, if I have somebody in here, like my friend, I kind of lend that role to them while I'm tracking vocals. Now I'm just the artist, because once you become the artist, once you're doing the creative thing, it just seems like more often than not, all of the objective decision-making power kind of goes out the window, and you become this like, sort of insecure, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but a lot of times you don't know because you're the one creating the thing. So you're not listening objectively to go, yes, that was good, that was bad. I often will know, like, hey, here's what I need to change, here's what I need to fix. But it really, really does help to have someone who's like, nope, try this part again. And developing that relationship between a producer and an artist, where you have that trust level, can be really beneficial and can really help you work fast. So Jesse, I've said to him, like on this trip, I'm like, hey, yeah, I might change some chords around. He's like, do it, change whatever you want. So I like that vibe where he wrote these songs. I'm coming in as producer. I can kind of get in there and tear him up. And tear him up is the wrong word, but I can get in there and he's given me permission to kind of put my stamp on them and just give an opinion to make them the best they can be. Because we have a good history together. We did a whole record together 2 years ago. Still hasn't come out yet. And yet we're going back to do another one. I don't know what the deal with that is. You can ask him about that. I think it might have something to do with the pandemic that happened over the past 2 years. So anyway, yeah, that's basically it. So So yeah, like this session is like pretty good. This one is like pretty much ready to go. Okay, and this is what I want to get all the sessions to. Basically, this state. So when they open them up at Abbey Road, here's what they look like. You know what I mean? Actually, I can get rid of this Master 2. Nope, I don't want to get rid of Master 2 because it's going to you. Actually, was it super loud when I was playing it? When I was playing back, or was it okay? Let me actually see.
For a flying start. So
That's probably okay. I can get rid of this Master 2. You can't see it. It was under my picture there. So yeah, so I want it to look like this. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna also get rid of these plugins on the master bus here. And I'm not just gonna deactivate them, I'm literally get rid of them because I don't like dealing with like disabled plugins and hey, this track is missing and whatever. It just makes things confusing for people. So I want to go in and go, hey, this is what we got, 6 or 7 tracks all ready to go, so they can bring in their big template of like, here's all our drums and bass and acoustic and vocal that we're tracking to, and this stuff probably, aside from the vocal and the click will go out its own track, and the vocal will go out its own track, but the rest of this stuff is kind of pre-submixed, right? And we've got it submixed in here, and they'll send it out just stereo to us in the studio as we're tracking. So we'll go, hey, more or less track. And when we say that, we mean all of this other stuff in here. The vibes, the piano, the acoustics. And those have been pre-mixed to a level that we like, basically. And then yeah, that's basically the plan. So I've got a whole hard drive here full of more tunes. Wait, there it is. Jesse Butterworth, Abbey Road 2022. This is just the first. It's not actually on this drive because he gave it to me earlier, but that's my project for the next couple days. So stop by. I don't really have a time that I am gonna go live, but since I've kind of got the setup here, I'm just gonna do it whenever I get a hankering, and I'll take you with me. And if you're around, hey, great. If not, that's fine too. And we'll keep these streams up at least for a while. It was Ollie says it was okay volume. How do you get over? I don't know what to add to this section, arrangement, production, to know what it needs. Yeah, good question. Sometimes walk away from it helps. Sometimes just going back to your staple, this is what I always do. It's good to have a couple things in your pocket that always work. One of mine is an Omnisphere patch called Bright and Beautiful. Let me see if I can get this going. So if I want to add like bigness, let's say it's a big pop track or whatever. I'm just going to name this Omnisphere. I'm going to pull up this Omnisphere plugin, which is an amazing synth plugin. And I literally search for Bright and Beautiful. And there it is. And let me send it out to you as well. Let me see if I got my keyboard here hooked up. Yeah, I think you can hear that. It's a little loud. I'm gonna turn that down a little. So this is what Bright and Beautiful sounds like. So hopefully that didn't blow you away, but the volume there. But that sound just adds like I've added that to things before, and my friends have gone, "Hey, I liked those guitars you added," and I'm like, thinking to myself, those weren't guitars. That was a big old synth. I love that synth because it has this buzzy, synth kind of fill out quality to it, but it doesn't have a lot of mid range. So in the context of a mix, if you turn it down a bit, it just kind of sounds like zzz, it just sort of sounds like power. So it doesn't surprise me that this one guy thought they were guitars, because they kind of sound like guitars because they have that fizzy top end of like just a nicely medium gain overdriven guitar. But you can do it without having to hook up. I mean, you just like play some chords on a synth. And it's also knowing what chords to play too, and kind of, a lot of times it's 1-5-1s in there and not adding a lot of threes, just so there's not a lot of harmonic information. Because the three, like the third interval, you can kind of identify, your brain goes, oh, what's that? And it sticks out a little bit more, whereas 1-5-1 can just sort of, it just sort of blends into the background, but makes everything sound really big. I'll often cut off bottom end on it. It's got way too much low end on it. So during a mix, I'll cut that out. Somebody said, "Hey dude, I have a question. Can you sub to someone, please?" Sure. Let me know who. I'll subscribe immediately. No, I don't know who. I'm not sure who. What you're referring to there. But hi, Heidi. But that's one thing. So back to your question. I like having things like that in my back pocket, and I do have, just from many years of production, I have things that work. One of those is that kind of thing. Another thing is really good sounding, really well recorded guitars can make just something absolutely come alive. And I say well recorded, really good sounding because there is no substitute. The modelers and the virtual stuff has come such a long way from where it was, a few years ago. But I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. It is not like the real thing. To me, it's like saying you could put a fake voice on something and have it sound as good as a real voice. No, you can't. I'm sorry. That's my opinion. You cannot. And you cannot have an emulated guitar that sounds as good. It just doesn't sound as good, in my opinion. Also, one hang up I have with those emulators too is that they're all stereo. They think that they want to do stereo because they want a big stereo reverb, but that's a mistake because a guitar, number one, a guitar is a mono instrument. There's one sound coming out of it. That's my opinion. And if you make it stereo, usually your dry signal is right in the middle. So you can record as many stereo guitars as you want. And really the only thing that's stereo is like the reverb. But the dry signal, because of the way it was recorded, the dry signal is like right up the middle. So a lot of times if I get projects, I just did like a rock project with a friend of mine, and I got guitars that were recorded stereo, clearly like from some kind of modeler or whatever. And I would pan both pan knobs all the way to the left or all the way to the right. And then take the other guitar and put both of those all the way the other way. Because I want to get actual width with the dry signal of the guitars. Width, if you have the dry signal in the middle and you have just your reverb wide, it's still going to sound like mono and like not that cool unless you're the only guitarist in the band. Even then, I like to put the guitar like off a little bit to one side. So when you're doing your mix, having stereo guitars, one's a Strat, one's a Strat, you varying up the tones. Strat on the fourth position on one side, semi-clean with a lot of reverb, and then kind of a dry version of like a hollow body something on the other side that is, and change up your tones. Even if you're playing the same part, change up your tones, switch pickups, do whatever you can to make, or capo, play in a different, in a different capo position to change up those guitars, make that, and even just rhythm guitars can really add a lot to something. So that's why wet, dry, wet is the ultimate. Absolutely wet, dry, wet. Yes, wet, dry, wet, because then you have 3 signals, and you can take your dry and you can put it wherever you want. You can put those 2 wets really wide. Often what I end up doing is I create basically a wet, dry, wet setup when I'm mixing. So during my mix process, I will have a guitar and it's panned, over here or whatever. but then I'm sending that guitar to a delay that's way on the other side, and then I'm sending that to a reverb that's going stereo. And I use that trick in mixing to create like a wet, dry, wet. But really what I prefer is just a mono guitar, because then I can control the amount of wet, as well, after the fact. But I like tracking with effects and everything, put a bunch of effects on stuff and just track it. But I just like mono. And as a matter of fact, I usually only use one microphone on the guitar too, just a Royer 121. Just because I like how it sounds, and I can get plenty of brightness out of it from the, ribbon mics are dark. That's why I say, mention brightness. I'll grab EQ from my preamp, and then also when you're mixing, you can add as much high end as you want. But the ribbon rounds off those harsh edges of an electric guitar, and it also has a ton of low end, really great sounding, beautiful kind of low mids that's kind of where all the power is from a guitar sound. So you should check out Surveyor XL album. Those guitar tones are incredible. I'll check that out. Thank you for the recommendation. But hey guys, well, thank you for joining me. I am going to sign off for now because I'm going to make my kids some lunch, who I've been neglecting today. And this was just kind of to say hello and say hi and happy 2022. And hey, spread the word and come back and subscribe and all of that stuff. And please let me know if you have any other questions. It's fun for me to interact with you guys and chat and everything. I will be streaming these. I don't know if Facebook ever worked. It just said sending data. So I think I'm just on YouTube and Twitch right now. If you want to go to Twitch, I should have all the aggregate comments over here. If you see me looking over here, that's where I have my computer with the comments. So I can see what you're saying over there. And yes, I will chat with you soon. Probably, maybe even later today, but more likely tomorrow. We will check in and get started with some more production stuff. Stay tuned for that, and have a great day. See you guys.